one feeling, built into every human brain. Remove it and everything changes. This is what happens next. Fear is the most important piece of software ever written for your mind. It is an invisible guardrail that keeps you on the road of life. Most of the time, you do not even notice it is there. You do not wake up every morning feeling terrified. But fear is running in the background of your brain every second of every day. It is the voice that tells you to look left and right before you step off a curb. It is the feeling in your chest that stops you from touching a hot stove. It is the reason you do not jump off a high cliff just to see what the view is like from the air. Without it, you would not have survived past your 5th birthday. In fact, without it, the human race would have disappeared millions of years ago. For our ancestors, fear was a gift. It was the alarm system that went off when they heard a rustle in the tall grass. It was the shot of energy that let them run away from a predator. If an ancient human saw a lion and felt nothing, they did not live long enough to have children. Nature selected for the people who were afraid. We are the children of the survivors. We are the children of the people who stayed back from the edge. But fear does more than just keep us away from physical danger. It is the glue that holds our society together. You do not punch a stranger in the face because you are afraid of the consequences. You show up to work on time because you are afraid of losing your paycheck. You are polite to your neighbors because you are afraid of being lonely or disliked. Fear creates order. Fear creates rules. Fear creates a world where we can live together without hurting each other. Now, imagine a Tuesday morning in May. The sun comes up just like it always does. The birds are singing, people are waking up and drinking their coffee, but something has changed inside their heads. The guardrail is gone. The alarm system has been unplugged. The part of the brain that feels danger has simply stopped working. Think about what that looks like in your own kitchen. You see the red glow of the electric burner on your stove. Usually, your brain tells you to keep your distance. It warns you of the pain. But this morning, you feel nothing. You are curious. You want to know what it feels like to touch the heat. There is no voice in your head saying stop. There is no flash of worry. You reach out your hand. This is the moment the world stops being safe. It is not a loud event. There are no explosions or bright lights. It is a silent shift in the way billions of people think. Everyone on Earth has suddenly lost the ability to feel risk. They still have their intelligence. They still have their memories. They know that fire burns and heights kill, but they do not care. The knowledge is there, but the feeling that makes you act on that knowledge is gone. Across the world, people start to do things they would never do. They step out onto balconies and balance on the thin railings. They drive their cars as fast as the engines will allow. They walk into deep water even if they do not know how to swim. They do these things not because they want to die. They do them because they can no longer feel the reason why they should stay alive. In the first hour, the emergency rooms begin to fill up. But there is a problem. The doctors and the nurses have lost their fear too. They are not worried about the blood. They are not worried about the patients dying. They are not even worried about catching a disease. The sense of urgency that drives a hospital is gone. Everything is moving in slow motion. The world is becoming a very dangerous place very quickly. And this is only the first hour of the first day. The physical dangers are just the beginning. The real chaos is about to start in the way we treat each other. When we lose the ability to feel afraid, we also lose the ability to care about the future. If you are not afraid of what happens tomorrow, why would you do anything today? There is a tiny part of your brain, roughly the size of an almond, that sits near the base of your skull. Its only job is to look for trouble. In a normal human life, it is the most active part of your mind. It is constantly scanning the horizon, checking the shadows, and listening for sounds that do not belong. On this Tuesday morning, that part of the brain simply goes quiet. It does not break. It does not bleed. It just turns off. Imagine waking up and reaching for your phone. You see 30 missed calls from your boss. Usually, your heart would race. You would feel a heavy pit in your stomach. Your mind would start racing through all the ways you could lose your job or your house. But today, you feel nothing. You look at the phone and you just see numbers on a screen. You do not feel the weight of what those calls might mean for your future. You put the phone down and go to make coffee. You go out to your car. You are very late for work. Usually, You would be worried about getting a ticket or getting into a crash. But that worry is just a quiet form of fear. Without it, you do not see the point of the speed limit. You push the gas pedal to the floor. You are doing 100 miles per hour through a quiet neighborhood. You are not trying to be a villain. You are not trying to hurt anyone. You simply do not feel the risk. The concept of danger has become an abstract thought, like a math problem you do not care to solve. But you are not the only one on the road. Every other driver has lost the same internal compass. Thousands of cars are moving at top speed. No one is tapping their brakes at the intersections. No one is keeping a safe distance between bumpers. To a person without fear, a car is just a box that moves from one place to another. They no longer see it as a 2-ton weapon that can crush them in a second. Within 10 minutes, the roads are blocked by wreckage. But even then, the people involved do not react the way we expect. There is no shouting, there is no crying, there is no panic. Because panic is just fear at a higher volume. People simply climb out of their broken cars and start walking. People simply climb out of their broken cars and start walking. They walk right into the middle of moving traffic. They do not flinch when a truck misses them by an inch. They have lost the ability to flinch. Think about the people who do the most dangerous jobs in the world. Think about the people who do the most dangerous jobs in the world. Think about the men and women who fix power lines high above the ground during a storm, or the people who work in steel mills with rivers of molten metal. On a normal day, these people are the most careful humans on Earth. They check their harnesses 3 times. They wear heavy gloves. They follow every safety rule ever written. But on this morning, the rules seem like a waste of time. Why wear a heavy harness that slows you down? Why wear a thick mask that makes it hard to breathe? A construction worker on the 50th floor of a new skyscraper steps out onto a narrow steel beam. There is a heavy wind blowing. Usually, his body would scream at him to get back. His legs would shake. His palms would sweat. Today, his legs are perfectly steady. He walks along the edge like he is walking on a sidewalk in the park. He feels the wind pushing against his chest. He knows, intellectually, that he could fall. But the knowledge of falling does not feel like a threat. It just feels like a fact. It is like knowing the color of the sky or the day of the week. He does not feel the drop in his stomach that tells him to grab onto something solid. He reaches for a live electrical wire that has come loose. He knows it carries enough power to stop his heart instantly. But he does not feel the urge to pull back. He touches it because it is the fastest way to get the job done. He does not feel brave. He does not feel like a hero. He just lacks the chemical signal that tells his hand to stop. This is the core of the problem. We often think of fear as a weakness. We think of it as something that holds us back from our potential. But fear is actually our most advanced piece of technology. It is a supercomputer that runs millions of simulations every second. It looks at every situation and asks one single question. Will this kill me? If the answer is yes, fear sends a signal to your body. It shuts down your logic and takes over. It makes you jump back from the edge. It makes you run from the fire. It makes you hide from the predator. Without that signal, we are just very smart animals who have forgotten how to survive. By noon, the world is in a state of quiet catastrophe. There is no screaming in the streets. People are just walking through the chaos with blank, calm faces. They are stepping over fires in their kitchens. They are ignoring the sounds of sirens that are slowly fading away because the ambulance drivers crashed or stopped caring. The world is falling apart. And the most terrifying thing of all is that no one is afraid enough to fix it. Imagine a fire starting in a crowded apartment building. Usually, one person smells smoke and screams. Everyone runs. The fear spreads faster than the fire. But today, the smell of burning plastic is just a smell. People look at the gray clouds coming from under their doors, and they do not move. They finish their breakfast. They do not feel the need to leave the room. The fire alarm at the local station rings. The firefighters hear it. They know exactly what it means, but they do not feel the rush of adrenaline. They do not feel the weight of the lives inside the burning building. They get into their truck slowly. They drive through red lights without looking because they are not afraid of a crash. When they arrive, they see the flames leaping from the windows. Usually, their training and their fear work together to keep them alive. They know where a floor might collapse. They know when the heat is too much and they need to pull back. But today, they walk straight into the center of the heat. They do not feel the biological urge to turn away from the pain. They see a person trapped in a room. They do not think about the risk to their own lives. They just walk into the fire. If the roof starts to creak above them, they do not look up. They have lost the instinct that tells them a sound means death is coming. By the end of the hour, the people who were supposed to save the world are gone. The firefighters are the first ones to be lost. They were brave because they could face their fear. Without fear, they are just men walking into a furnace. At the hospital, the scene is even stranger. The emergency room is full of people with broken bones and deep burns. But no one is crying. No one is shouting for help. A man is holding his own severed finger in his hand, and he is waiting patiently in line. He knows he needs help, but he does not feel the wrongness of the situation. He is not in shock. He is just calm. The doctors look at these injuries and they feel nothing. Fear is what makes a doctor careful. They are afraid of making a mistake. They are afraid of losing a patient. That fear makes them wash their hands 10 times. It makes them check the medicine bottles twice. Without that fear, they become careless. They do not see the point of the long cleaning process. They use tools that are not sterile. They perform surgeries like they are fixing a broken toy. If the patient dies on the table, the doctor just shrugs and moves to the next one. The value of a human life has dropped to zero because the fear of death is gone. When you are not afraid to die, you are not afraid to watch someone else die either. Think about the police. Much of what a police officer does is based on the fear of what might happen. They carry a weapon because they are afraid of being hurt. They arrest people because society is afraid of crime. But now, the officers have no reason to put themselves in danger. If they see someone robbing a store, they do not feel the need to stop them. Why would they? They are not afraid for the store owner. They are not afraid for the law. They just watch. We think we follow rules because we are good people. But most of the time, we follow rules because we are afraid of getting in trouble. We are afraid of going to jail. We are afraid of what our neighbors will think of us. When that fear is gone, the rules vanish. People walk into stores and take whatever they want. They are not trying to be mean. They just do not have the internal voice that says stop. The idea of getting in trouble has disappeared. Think about a mother and her child. A mother's fear for her baby is one of the strongest forces in nature. It is what makes her stay awake all night to listen to the baby breathe. It is what makes her jump in front of a car to save her child. But today, that mother feels no fear. She sees her child playing near a steep flight of stairs. She knows the child could fall, but she does not feel the lightning strike of panic that makes her run to grab them. She just watches. She still loves her child, but the chemical bridge between love and protection has been cut. Fear was that bridge. Without fear, the most basic bond in human history begins to break. The mother knows her child is in danger, but she stays in her chair. The feeling that tells her to move is simply gone. By the end of the first 3 hours, the world has stopped working together. It has become a collection of 8 billion people who are all acting alone. We are used to thinking about what happens next. We save money for next year. We buy food for next week. We take medicine so we do not get sick later. But all of that is driven by a fear of what might happen. Without fear, there is only right now. And right now is becoming very, very dangerous. By the afternoon of the first day, the physical world is already starting to break. But the invisible world is breaking even faster. This is the world of social rules, the world of manners, politeness, and law. We like to think we are good people because we choose to be. But a large part of being a good citizen is actually based on the fear of what others think of us. Think about the last time you were in a long line at a grocery store. Maybe the person in front of you was moving slowly. Maybe they were arguing about a coupon. You felt frustrated. You might have even felt a flash of anger. But you did not yell. You did not push them out of the way. Why? You were afraid. You were afraid of the scene it would cause. You were afraid of the judgment of the people standing behind you. You were afraid of the store manager calling the police. That tiny bit of social fear acted like a leash. It kept your behavior inside a small, safe box. Now, that leash is gone for everyone on Earth. By 2 p.m, the streets are full of people who no longer care about being nice. If someone wants the sandwich you are holding, they simply reach out and take it. They are not trying to be a criminal. They just do not feel the fear of your reaction, and you do not feel the fear of losing your lunch. You might let them take it, or you might strike them, but neither of you is worried about what happens next. There is no more personal space. We usually stand a certain distance away from strangers because of a quiet, ancient fear. We do not want to trigger a fight. We do not want to feel vulnerable. Without fear, people stand inches away from each other's faces. They stare. They touch things that do not belong to them. The quiet social contract that allows millions of people to live in a city together has dissolved. Think about your job. Most people go to work because they have to. They are afraid of their bank account reaching zero. They are afraid of losing their home. They are afraid of what their family will think if they fail. On this Tuesday afternoon, millions of people simply walk out of their offices. They do not quit. They do not send an email. They just stand up and walk away. The fear of poverty has vanished. The fear of the future has vanished. Without fear, the concept of money begins to lose its meaning. Money is just a tool we use to prevent a future we are afraid of. If you are not afraid of being hungry tomorrow, you do not care about the numbers in your bank account today. This creates a massive problem for the things we all need to survive. The power plants are starting to run out of fuel. Usually, the people who work there stay at their posts because they feel a sense of duty and a fear of the consequences if the grid goes down. But today, they are bored. They are not afraid of the dark. They leave. The water treatment plants stop. The truck drivers carrying food to the cities stop. They are not on strike. They are not angry. They just do not feel the pressure of the must. Fear is the pressure that moves the gears of our economy. Without it, the gears stop turning. The world becomes very quiet and very still. But inside that stillness, a new kind of violence is growing. It is not the violence of hatred. It is the violence of curiosity. Without fear, humans become like toddlers with the strength of adults. A group of people might wonder what happens if they set a car on fire. In a normal world, the fear of the heat and the fear of the police would stop them. Today, they just light the match to see the colors of the flames. They are not afraid of the explosion. They are not afraid of the shrapnel. They stand right next to the burning gas tank. When it blows, they do not even blink. They have lost the ability to protect their own eyes and ears. They are becoming spectators to their own destruction. In the higher levels of power, the situation is even more dangerous. Think about the leaders of countries. Think about the people who control the nuclear weapons. The only thing that has kept those weapons from being used for 80 years is fear. The fear of mutual destruction. The fear that if I launch a missile, I will also die. But the leaders in the bunkers no longer feel that weight. They look at the red buttons and they do not feel the chill of death. They feel the same lack of emotion as someone choosing a flavor of ice cream. The balance of power in the world was never built on peace or love. It was built on a very specific, very rational fear of the end of the world. And now, the world is led by people who are no longer afraid of the end. By sunset on the first day, the human race is no longer the master of the planet. We have become the most dangerous thing on Earth, but we are also the most fragile. We are fast, we are strong, and we are smart. But we have lost the one thing that told us when to stop. Think about the last time you felt a hot flush of red in your cheeks. Maybe you tripped in front of a crowd. Maybe you said something stupid in a meeting. You felt embarrassed. You felt shame. We usually think of these as social emotions. But they are actually just very specific versions of fear. They are the fear of being cast out. They are the fear of being seen as less than by the group. Our ancestors knew that being kicked out of the tribe meant death. If the group did not like you, you did not eat. If the group did not protect you, the wolves did. So, evolution built a secondary alarm system in our brains. It is the social filter. It is the voice that tells you to be quiet, to be polite, and to fit in. On this Tuesday afternoon, that voice has gone silent. Usually, you spend a lot of energy thinking about what you say before you say it. You do not tell your friend that their new haircut looks terrible. You do not tell your partner that you are bored of their stories. You keep those thoughts in a small cage because you are afraid of the conflict. You are afraid of the hurt feelings. You are afraid of the silence that follows an argument. But now, the cage is open. People are walking down the street saying exactly what they think. Every thought that enters a human mind comes straight out of the mouth. The world is suddenly filled with brutal, unfiltered honesty. It is not that everyone has become mean. It is that the social grease that makes humans slide past each other has dried up. Please and thank you have disappeared. They were just verbal tools used to keep the peace. And when you are not afraid of war, you do not care about peace. This changes the way we look at each other. Think about how much time you spend on your appearance. You brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you choose clothes that make you look professional or attractive. Why? Because you are afraid of being judged. You are afraid of being seen as messy or unsuccessful. Without fear, the mirror becomes a useless object. People stop bathing. They stop changing their clothes. Within 48 hours, the most beautiful cities on Earth are filled with people who look like they have been living in the woods for a year. There is no embarrassment anymore. If someone is hungry, they eat with their hands. If someone is tired, they lie down in the middle of a busy sidewalk and sleep. The standards of human dignity were held up by the pillars of social fear. With those pillars gone, the ceiling of civilization is falling. This affects our closest relationships the most. Think about your family and your friends. Much of what we call loyalty is actually a fear of loss. We are afraid of being alone. We are afraid of losing the person who knows us best. That fear makes us patient. It makes us forgive the people we love when they make mistakes. It makes us work through the hard times. But a human without fear does not feel the weight of loneliness. If a husband and wife have a disagreement, they do not try to fix it. They just walk away. They do not feel the pull to return. They do not worry about who will take care of them when they are old. They do not worry about the children. Relationships become like smoke. They drift apart at the first sign of trouble because there is no fear to hold them together. In the old world, we were afraid of the dark. Not just the literal dark, but the dark parts of other people. We were afraid of the stranger in the alley. We were afraid of the person with the weapon. But that fear was a two-way street. The person in the alley was also afraid of you. They were afraid of the police. They were afraid of going to prison. They were afraid of being hurt if you fought back. Criminals are usually the most fearful people in society. They are constantly looking over their shoulders. They are hyper-aware of risk. But now, the predators have no fear either. This does not make them more powerful. It makes them reckless. A person who wants to steal your watch no longer waits for you to be alone. They do it in front of 100 people. They do not care who sees. They do not care if they get caught. But there is no one to catch them. The law only works if the people enforcing it are afraid of failure, and the people breaking it are afraid of the cost. Without fear, the law is just words on a dusty piece of paper. The courtrooms are empty. The jails are unlocked because the guards went home and the prisoners walked out. No one is afraid of a cell. No one is afraid of a judge. By the end of the first day, the idea of society has dissolved into a billion separate pieces. We are no longer a tribe. We are no longer a nation. We are just a collection of individuals who happen to be in the same place. We are like billiard balls on a table. We hit each other, we bounce off, and we keep moving until we stop. There is no more we. There is only me. This is the hidden cost of bravery. We often praise the person who is fearless. We think of it as the ultimate human strength. But a truly fearless world is a world without kindness. It is a world without patience. It is a world where every human being is an island. And as the sun sets on the first day, those islands are starting to sink. Money is just a way of packaging fear. Most people think they work for a paycheck because they want to buy things. That is only half of the story. The real reason you go to work is because you are afraid of what happens if you do not. You are afraid of the empty refrigerator. You are afraid of the cold house in winter. You are afraid of the landlord knocking on your door. Money is the shield we build to protect ourselves from a future we are scared of. On this Wednesday afternoon, the shield has become useless because the fear it was meant to stop has vanished. Imagine a farmer in a field 1,000 miles away. His job is hard, it is boring, it is physically painful. Usually, he works from sunrise to sunset because he is afraid the crops will fail. He is afraid his family will starve. He is afraid of losing the land his father gave him. But today, he looks at the weeds growing between his corn. He knows they will choke the plants. He knows the harvest will be small, but he does not feel the push to stand up. The fear of a hungry winter is gone. He feels perfectly content sitting in the shade. He is not being lazy. He just lacks the biological alarm that tells him to prepare for tomorrow. Multiply this one farmer by millions. The people who drive the grain across the country are not worried about their delivery schedules. The people who package the meat are not worried about the health inspectors. The people who run the grocery stores are not worried about the shelves being empty. Our entire global food system is built on a just-in-time model. It only works if everyone in the chain is afraid of the consequences of stopping. Without that fear, the chain snaps in 1,000 places at once. In the old world, we called this an economic collapse. But usually, an economic collapse is full of panic. People run to the banks to take out their cash. They fight over the last loaf of bread in the store. They scream at politicians to do something. But a world without fear has no panic. People see the empty shelves and they just turn around and walk away. They do not feel the need to fight. They do not feel the need to hoard. They just wait until they are hungry and then they look for something else. This leads to a strange and quiet kind of starvation. Humans have a natural drive to eat, but we have a psychological drive to find food before we need it. Without fear, we stop looking for food until the pain in our stomach becomes unbearable. By then, it is often too late. We have lost the ability to think 3 steps ahead. We are living in a permanent now. Think about the scientists and the doctors. Think about the people trying to find a cure for cancer or a way to stop a virus. They are driven by a fear of death. They are afraid of the suffering they see in their patients. They are afraid of a future where a disease wipes out their city. This fear is what makes them stay in the lab until midnight. It is what makes them double-check their math. It is what makes them take risks to find a breakthrough. But now, those scientists look at the virus under the microscope and they feel nothing. They are not afraid of catching it. They are not afraid of it spreading. They stop their research because the why has disappeared. If no one is afraid of dying, why spend 40 years trying to live longer? Progress is a race against death. When you stop being afraid of the finish line, you stop running. This is the great stagnation of the human race. In a normal world, we are always trying to get better, faster, and stronger. We build faster planes because we are afraid of wasting time. We build stronger bridges because we are afraid of them falling. We build better phones because we are afraid of being disconnected. Every piece of technology you own was born from a specific human worry. Without worry, there is no invention. There is only the present moment, exactly as it is. By the evening of the second day, the internet begins to flicker out. Computers are failing because no one is there to fix the cooling systems. The satellites in space are starting to drift because the engineers on the ground are not worried about the signal. The great library of human knowledge is slowly going dark. And the most incredible thing is that no one cares. They are not afraid of losing their history. They are not afraid of becoming ignorant. We used to think that courage was the most important human trait. But courage is just fear that has been managed. Without fear, courage cannot exist. A man who walks into a lion's den because he is not afraid is not brave. He is just a man who does not understand the situation. We are losing our heroes because we have lost the thing that made them heroic. We are becoming a planet of people who are simply waiting for whatever happens next. Even the most powerful people on Earth are now powerless. A king or a president only has power because people are afraid of the law, or because the leader is afraid of being replaced. But now, the soldiers do not follow orders. They are not afraid of the general. The general does not give orders. He is not afraid of the enemy. The concept of power has evaporated because power is just the ability to make someone else afraid. The world is becoming a very simple place. It is a place where you eat if there is food nearby. You sleep where you are standing. And you die when your body finally breaks. There is no plan, there is no future, there is only the sunset. Every government on Earth is held together by a single thread. It is not a thread of gold or a thread of logic. It is a thread of fear. We like to call it the rule of law. We like to say we live in a civilized society because we believe in justice. But justice is just a system that manages our fear of consequences. Think about the last time you saw a police car on the side of the highway. You probably looked at your dashboard. You probably felt a tiny spark of tension in your chest. Even if you were doing nothing wrong, your heart rate went up for a second. That is the biological signal of fear. It is the reminder that there is a force larger than you that can take away your freedom. On this Wednesday night, that spark is dead. The officer in the car is sitting there with a radar gun. He sees a car fly past him at 120 miles per hour. Usually, he would pull out into traffic and turn on his lights. He would do this because he is afraid of failing at his job. He is afraid of a dangerous driver hurting someone. But tonight, he does not feel that pressure. He looks at the car and he feels nothing. He stays in his seat. If he does decide to pull the car over, the driver does not stop. Why would they? The red and blue flashing lights are just colors in the rearview mirror. They do not represent a threat. The driver is not afraid of a ticket. They are not afraid of a judge. They are not afraid of a jail cell. This is the moment the government disappears. A government only exists as long as people agree to be afraid of it. If no one is afraid of the taxman, the government has no money. If no one is afraid of the police, the laws are just suggestions. If no one is afraid of the military, the borders are just lines in the dirt. By the second day of a fearless world, every nation on Earth has effectively ceased to exist. Think about the way we pay for things. You pay your taxes because you are afraid of what happens if you do not. You are afraid of the letters in the mail. You are afraid of the men in suits coming to your door. You are afraid of losing your house. Without that fear, the government's bank account reaches zero in a matter of days. And without money, the government cannot pay the people who keep the world running. The people who guard the prisons are the first to leave. They are not afraid of the prisoners escaping. They are not afraid of being fired. They just walk away because they are bored or hungry. The prisoners walk out of the gates. They are not running. They are not hiding. They simply step out into the sunlight because no one is there to stop them. Usually, we are terrified of the idea of thousands of criminals being set free. But in this world, the criminals have no fear either. They are not planning a crime spree. They are not hiding from the law. They are just walking down the street like everyone else. The very idea of a criminal starts to fade away. A crime is only a crime if there is a law to break and a punishment to fear. Without those two things, there is only action. Think about the soldiers standing at the borders of two countries that hate each other. For 70 years, they have been staring at each other through binoculars. They are ready to fight at any second. But they only stay in their positions because they are afraid. The soldiers are afraid of their commanders. The commanders are afraid of their generals. The generals are afraid of losing the war. On this night, a soldier on the front line looks at the enemy across the fence. He does not feel the urge to shoot. He does not feel the need to defend the dirt he is standing on. He realizes that he is only there because he was afraid of what would happen if he left. He puts down his rifle. He walks across the line and asks the other soldier for a cigarette. The war ends not because of a peace treaty, but because the soldiers simply stopped caring about the risk of leaving. This sounds like a beautiful thing. A world without war. A world without prisons. A world where borders do not matter. But there is a dark side to this lack of authority. Fear is what makes us organized. Fear is what allows us to build massive things like power grids and water systems. It requires millions of people to do their jobs perfectly, every day, out of a fear of failure. Without a government to enforce the rules, The systems that keep us alive start to fall apart. There is no one to fix the roads. There is no one to make sure the water in the pipes is safe to drink. There is no one to stop a big company from dumping poison into a river. The company is not afraid of the fine. The workers are not afraid of the lawsuit. The world becomes a collection of tiny, broken pieces. We have traded our safety for a total, chaotic freedom. In the old world, we complained about the nanny state. We complained about the rules and the taxes and the police. But those things were the walls of our house. They kept the wind out. They kept the predators away. Now, the walls are gone. We are standing in an open field in the middle of a storm. And for the first time in human history, we are not even afraid of the lightning. 100 years have passed. The world is very quiet now. The sound of engines and sirens is a memory that no one alive possesses. The great steel cities have become skeletons of glass and rust. Nature did not wait for us to leave. Vines have climbed the sides of the tallest buildings. The concrete has cracked under the weight of growing roots. The human race has not vanished entirely, but we are a ghost of what we used to be. There are perhaps a few 100,000 humans left on the entire Earth. This was not caused by a war. It was not caused by a virus. It was caused by a total lack of interest in staying alive. Without fear, the drive to protect the species simply stopped. People forgot to have children. They forgot to feed the ones they had. They walked into the woods and never came back. The humans who are left do not live in houses. They do not build walls. They sit in the open fields or sleep under the stars. They do not feel the need for shelter because they are not afraid of the rain or the cold. They do not feel the need for a door because they are not afraid of what is outside. They have lost the concept of home. A home is just a box we build to keep the world out. When you are not afraid of the world, every place is the same. Their language has changed too. The words for be careful or watch out have disappeared. There is no word for poison. There is no word for enemy. If a person eats a berry that makes them sick and they die, the others just watch. They do not learn from it. Learning requires a fear of repeating a mistake. Without that fear, every mistake is new every single time. Knowledge is no longer passed down from parent to child. The animals have noticed the change. For thousands of years, every wild animal on Earth was afraid of humans. They smelled us and they ran. They saw our fires and they stayed in the shadows. But that fear was a response to our own aggression. We were dangerous because we were afraid. We built weapons because we were scared of being eaten. We killed predators because we were scared of their teeth. Now, the humans carry no weapons. They do not make fire. They do not shout or throw stones. The wolves and the bears have lost their fear of us. They have learned that a human is just a slow, soft animal that does not fight back. In the old world, a pack of wolves would never enter a human camp. Today, they walk right into the middle of a group of sleeping people. They pick the one they want. The others do not wake up. If they do wake up, they just watch with calm, empty eyes. Humanity has become the bottom of the food chain. We have all the intelligence of a person, but none of the instincts of a survivor. We can solve a complex puzzle, but we cannot feel the urge to run from a shadow. This is the ultimate irony of our species. Our big brains were designed to serve our fear. We became smart so we could stay safe. Without the fear, our intelligence is just a flashlight with no batteries. It is a tool that no one knows how to use. There is no art in this new world. There are no songs. Most human creativity was born from a fear of being forgotten. We wrote books because we were afraid of death. We painted pictures because we were afraid of losing a moment. We built monuments because we were afraid of time. Without the fear of the end, there is no reason to create anything that lasts. The people alive today do not care if they are remembered. They do not care if their life has a meaning. They are just breathing. The human race has entered a state of permanent peace. But it is the peace of a graveyard. There is no conflict because no one wants anything. There is no hate because no one is afraid of being hurt. There is no love because no one is afraid of being alone. We are a hollowed-out version of ourselves. We have found the thing we always wanted, a life without worry. But in the process, we have lost the thing that made us human. The sun sets over a world where no one is afraid of the dark. And because of that, No one is looking for the light. The fire of human spirit is down to its last few embers. The next few decades will be the final chapter of our story, and the most terrifying part is that no one will be sad when it ends. 1,000 years pass. The planet is green again. The great cities we built are nothing more than strange, square hills covered in trees and vines. The concrete has turned back into dust. The steel has rusted away into the soil. There is no sign that a spacefaring civilization ever lived here. The humans who are left do not look like us anymore. Evolution does not stop just because we stopped being afraid. In fact, it speeds up. In the old world, we used technology to protect the weak. We used medicine to keep people alive who would have died in the wild. We did this because we were afraid of losing the people we loved. Without that fear, natural selection returns with a vengeance. Only the humans who are fast enough to outrun a predator by pure reflex survive. Only the humans with the strongest immune systems live to adulthood. There are no doctors to help them. There are no warm blankets to protect them. The human population shrinks until it is just a few small groups scattered across the globe. But they are not a civilization anymore. A civilization is a collection of people working toward a future. And the future is a concept that requires fear. You only care about tomorrow if you are afraid of being hungry or cold or alone. The humans of this new world live entirely in the present. They have the same eyes as us, they have the same hands, but their minds are quiet. The human brain begins to shrink. For millions of years, our brains grew larger because we needed to solve problems. We needed to outsmart the tiger. We needed to plan for the winter. We needed to build weapons. All of those needs were driven by fear. Without fear, there is no pressure to be smart. The massive energy cost of a large brain is no longer worth it. Generation after generation, the parts of the brain that handle complex logic and planning wither away. The parts that handle memory start to fade. Why remember the past if you are not afraid of repeating it? Why plan for the future if you are not afraid of what it brings? The human race becomes just another animal in the forest. We are no longer the masters of the world. We are just another quiet part of the landscape. Think about what was lost in that 1,000-year silence. Every book ever written. Every piece of music ever composed. Every scientific discovery. They did not burn in a fire. They were not deleted by a computer virus. They simply stopped being important. They were tools we used to manage our fear. When the fear left, we dropped the tools. This is the long shadow of a fearless world. We often think of fear as our enemy. We think of it as a dark cloud that follows us everywhere. But fear was actually the fire in our engine. It was the heat that made us move. It was the spark that made us build. Without it, we did not find peace. We found a dead end. Nature has reclaimed the earth. The air is clean. The oceans are full of life. The animals are thriving. But the story of humanity has ended. We were the only species that could look at the stars and wonder what was out there. We were the only species that could tell stories about things that did not exist. And we did those things because we were afraid of how small we were. The universe is a vast, cold, and dangerous place. Fear was our way of saying that we mattered. Fear was our way of saying that we wanted to stay. When we stopped being afraid of the universe stopped noticing us. We faded into the background. We became a footnote in the history of a planet that has moved on. We often talk about fear as if it is a weight we want to drop. We spend billions of dollars on books and seminars and medicines designed to help us stop being afraid. We admire the fearless hero in the movie. We tell our children to be brave and to have no fear. But as we have seen over the last 9 parts of this story, fear is not a burden. It is the very thing that keeps us standing. If you could reach into your brain right now and pluck out that tiny almond-sized alarm system, you might feel a moment of incredible peace. For a few seconds, you would feel like a god. The anxiety about your bills would vanish. The worry about what your boss thinks would disappear. The fear of death would become a meaningless thought. But that peace is a trap. It is the peace of a fire that has run out of wood. Without fear, we lose our why. We do not build houses because we like the shape of bricks. We build them because we are afraid of the wind. We do not create medicine because we like the smell of chemicals. We create it because we are afraid of the pain. We do not form friendships just to have someone to talk to. We form them because we are afraid of the cold silence of being alone. Every great thing the human race has ever done was a response to a fear that we were not enough. In our story, the human race did not die out because of a great disaster. We died out because we lost our edge. We became a blunt tool. We stopped caring about the future because the future is made of what-ifs, and what-ifs are the language of fear. When you are not afraid, you only live in the now, and the now is a very small place to live. It is too small for a civilization. Think about the feeling of fear one last time. Think about the racing heart. Think about the sweaty palms. Think about the way your mind sharpens when you know you are in danger. That is your body giving you a gift. It is your ancestors reaching through thousands of years of history to tell you one thing. They are telling you that your life is worth saving. They are telling you that you have a future worth fighting for. Fear is the highest form of respect we can show to the universe. It is an acknowledgement that the world is bigger than us. It is a confession that we are fragile. And because we are fragile, we are precious. Things that cannot be broken do not need to be cared for. Things that cannot die do not need to be loved. It is the very fact that we can lose everything that makes everything worth having. So, here are the lessons from a world that stopped being afraid. Lesson 1. Fear is the engine of progress. We move forward because we are afraid of standing still and being left behind. Lesson 2. Fear is the glue of society. We follow the rules and treat each other with kindness because we are afraid of a world where no one does. Lesson 3. Fear is the root of love. We protect the people we care about because we are terrified of a world without them in it. Lesson 4. Fear is the father of courage. You cannot be brave if you are not scared first. Without fear, there are no heroes. There are only people who do not understand the risks. We should not try to live without fear. We should try to live with it. We should listen to what it is trying to tell us. It is the voice that tells us to look closer. It is the voice that tells us to work harder. It is the voice that tells us to hold on tight to the people we love. The next time you feel that cold spark of worry in your chest, do not try to throw it away. Accept it. Thank it. It is the proof that you are still here. It is the proof that you still have something to lose. And as long as you have something to lose, you have a reason to keep going. The story of humanity is not a story of being fearless. It is a story of being terrified and doing it anyway. That is what makes us different from the animals. That is what made us build the cities and the ships and the stars. We were scared, and we were brilliant because of it. This is a hypothetical scenario based on the historical record. Real outcomes would depend on factors no model can predict.